that not only are we growing food to share, but we're hoping this will be a place for people to come together and work together and share together and build relationships together. And so we are naming our garden the Gathering Place. The ultimate goal is that we're able to grow enough to share with the community, that folks in our neighborhood, and that we have a couple of local food pantries that we'll be able to take food to and offer it to our congregants and folks who want to work and participate in the garden. So that's the long-term vision, to actually be able to grow enough food to share with our neighbors.
Welcome, y'all. Welcome. Thank you. To the podcast.
How are you all doing? In the 10 minutes I haven't spoken to you.
We're good, thanks. Glad to be here.
Good. All right, well, we want to start off, we want to ask, just because, it's Pride. What does Pride mean to y'all? And not just the month, the celebration of Pride, but what is, Pride in yourself, in your relationship, in y'all's life? What does that mean to y'all?
And I think the thing that it really means to me and to so many other people is this is an entire month where we celebrate being proud of who you are and not ashamed. And I think that the efforts to shame anybody, but LGBTQ folks, particularly youth, I think what's happening in our culture right now, in our country, with trans folks is horrendous, and its purpose is to bring shame and silence people. And so I think what Pride means to me is it gives you the sort of oomph to speak out and to not be ashamed and to celebrate who we are, who everybody is, and not just LGBTQ folks, but for people to be able to celebrate who they are.
You know their words, Lili. No. Yeah. I mean, thinking both about my own experiences participating, I probably am never going to forget, my first big march in DC and feeling like I found my people. Just a really powerful, a lot of them, really powerful experience. And I know for this year, I'm just so pissed off about all the corporations and foundations that have pulled out of supporting Pride events around the country. And really proud of the people who have figured out how to come together anyway, that the money and the floats and the whatever is not ever what it was about. But, if there's shame to be had, and I'm not a big one on shame as a effective tool for anything, but shame on those people with money who chose to retreat to what they thought was political safety, which in the long run It will not be.
Going off of that, with the political safety and corporations pulling their support and things like that, what's at risk now for you as a member of the LGBT community? What's different from how it used to be maybe back in the day when you were first coming out?
Yeah, a good question. Good question. So there are a lot of positive things that are different, right? There's been so much progress made just in the last 30, 40 years, and that built on progress before it. But, we're in a time of backlash now, and certainly in my work life, in that part of my life, like, being sent a copy of an executive order that says, you will not recognize any gender other than male and female, men and women. You may not serve people who are transgender or who are lesbian or gay, or people who are non-binary, receiving word last month of a new national security plan that has identified transgender people as a threat, as domestic terrorists, like what is going on, right? So it rallies things, but it also creates quite an environment of fear, and it really, I think, gives a type of permission to those who haven't moved past hate, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what concerns me, and it definitely concerns me for our youth, for our grandchildren, the kids of today, is that there was a time when people, when you fight for rights, where people lose their lives. That the risks are heavy. They lose kids, they lose jobs, they lose housing, they lose their lives. And what we're seeing is a stage, and we got beyond that, where we got acceptance in a culture where people were coming out to their friends and family, and they knew, most everybody knows somebody who's LGBT, part of the LGBT. Yeah, and it changed a culture, and we're seeing the stage set to make that fight against that again is really scary. Very much what we're seeing in the immigrant community and with ICE. So I think it's really important that we're talking about these things, that you guys are talking about these things with your friends, and recognizing it, because you were born into a time where there was much more acceptance, and that you're just out there talking about being gay or queer or whatever, and not worrying about anything happening, and that we are in a concerning time, and how we all respond to that makes a big difference.
So getting married first became legal in 2004, same-sex marriage. So why did y'all decide to get married then? Why did y'all not decide to get married then?
I'm going to let Kristi talk about that, because it's hard for me to remember back to 2004.
So when we were chatting yesterday about all this, and I was talking about how, our coming together was under some really challenging circumstances. And there was a lot of loss, there was a lot of pain, and there was tremendous joy all at the same time, right? And, but one of the things that happened was, we were creating a new family with 4 kids. We were not entirely sure if we were doing the right thing or not. And we made this agreement at the beginning, 6 months. We'll commit to 6 months. That's what we know we can do. And we'll check in 6 months. And for 25 years. We went 6 months at a time, and we actually had a conversation every 6 months and talked about how it was going. I mean, I will say, by the time we got to year 20-something, it was more like a, you ready to re-up? But there were a lot of, deep conversations along the way, and some negotiations and some shifts in direction. So, we weren't looking to become, and we've both been married to men. I told you found out last night. I've been married twice before. So not a lot of faith in the institution of marriage, and a lot of guilt about not succeeding at traditional marriage, right?
Yeah. You want to know any more about that?
Well, I have a question, like going off of this. Because you didn't have a lot of faith in the institution of marriage and it just wasn't as important to you, what ultimately led you to make the decision to get married, and when did you do that?
So there was a long battle. I don't know how many folks remember the battle for marriage equality in Virginia in particular, and I'm not great. I'm not going to get the dates exactly right. And we were part of that fight for marriage equality in Virginia, and it really sort of ramped up after two delegates passed a bill twice, and then it went to the people to amend the Virginia Constitution with something called the Marshall-Newman Amendment. So I don't know if that rings any bells for folks, but that was a constitutional amendment that passed in 2006, I think, that stated that Virginia would not recognize same-sex marriages, and essentially marriage could only be between a man and a woman. And then the fight for equality sort of ramped up in Virginia and across the country, and states were passing the right to marry. And we said, well, we got all these grandchildren now, and we're probably going to be, probably need to do something about that and make a commitment. And we took a trip to Cape Cod, and sort of on that trip sort of talked about it and planned our wedding and made our decision to get married. It was not legal in Virginia at the time. So we went to Maryland and got married, and then had a lovely ceremony here at UFR in 2016? 14. Listen, all these dates, and then with all these changes with the legalities, and then I think it was a month after we did that. Listen, dementia comes on for all of us at some point, The Supreme Court refused to hear the case, which essentially made marriage, things like the Marshall-Newman Amendment, void. Yeah, so that was unconstitutional. So Virginia then recognized marriage. And it's a lot of different legalities that sort of go back and forth, and I think that's it's an interesting history to look at that. But there is a pretty strong move to challenge that and to change that. So.
Talk a little bit about the energy that when y'all got married. Like, what was it like? Because it's kind of different now, right? Like, you say somebody is getting married and they're gay, and it's in 2015, it was like very exciting. Like, I remember, So, but talk about that.
You want to talk about it?
For our wedding, or for marriage equality in general? Yeah. Did anything change? Lots of things changed. One practical thing that changed was that I never went anywhere without a group of legal documents, either in my bag or on my person, or, the folder that they were in was so tattered because that was the only way that I was going to have any rights if something happened to Ruth, or she was going to have any rights. I mean, I carried both our things, 'cause you know how that is. So, we just had friends who went through things, where when someone was injured at end of life, property division, all kinds of stuff. So that was one practical thing that changed. I wasn't worried about that anymore. I think also the experience of having people come together, and particularly our kiddos, getting up and speaking to what our relationship had meant to them, just really it brought the 6 month at a time thing to a firm closure. It was like, this is it. This is for life.
And I think also it was not an easy journey for our 4 kids, for your moms, for Bree and Michael. And I think, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think it really sort of helped them to feel a little less afraid for us, afraid for themselves, because it was a tough journey for them growing up with lesbian moms. And, I understand it might be a little different for you all, as, like you've got these lesbian grandmothers. Is there...
What do your friends say about that?
They love it. It's a flex.
Tell them about your vetting process.
Oh, yeah. So I vet new people by mentioning I have gay grandmothers. So I'll mention in conversation, I'll go, oh, I'm visiting my grandma's this weekend, going to their little cottage. If they react weirdly, I don't see them again. That's my process. Going off of that, I do know right around when you got married, about a year after, the political environment changed as well, and the Supreme Court made the decision to lift a ban on same-sex marriage. And how did you all feel about that when that happened?
Well, really good. I think, and I think about our friends. I mean, it was a very celebratory time. And I think the celebratory time was not that everybody necessarily wanted to get married, but that you could.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about rights, equality, equity, things like that, are to feel, in any case, in anything where anybody feels like, you're not good enough or able to do the things that your peers are, or your parents or your kids, that just by not having those rights, it's, even if you know it's wrong, it's something that's just there, and it's and you don't want to walk around with being angry about stuff like that. So it really lifted that thing that just sort of sits there,
The spirits.
The spirit, yeah. So and I think facing challenges to that right now, that angst sort of starts to come back, and I don't want that there.
Herbert, do you want to talk a little bit about how the marriage affected y'all spiritually? How y'all's union after your 25 years of 6 months? How did and maybe when did y'all join UU? We didn't talk about this yesterday, so I know that's like an outer left.
Sometime in the early 1990s, let's put it that way.
Okay.
I can't remember the year, but we first started.
Can I say something? Yeah, but I think part of, and the connection with Unitarian Universalism is we wanted a spiritual home. I grew up Episcopalian.
Yeah.
Kristi grew up Catholic atheist, so she had some real mixed up stuff around spirituality, or not good feelings.
Yeah.
And we wanted a place for our children to have a community that was supportive, and a place for their spiritual growth, and a place that they could go, and there were other kids who had gay parents. And we joined the Unitarian Church in Williamsburg back in the 1990s, and were part of that until we moved to the Northern Neck, and there was no UU fellowship here in place for our kids. And you can talk about that kid journey.
Well,
I mean, I think
yeah,
about, you know.
I'm going to bounce it back to you because, I mean, there's a journey, you know, prior to coming to the Northern Neck and prior to you being born. But, you know, and finding Unitarian Universalism was really life-changing in terms of connection between spiritual beliefs and the way we were living our lives, right? And it was such a gift to get to do religious education here at UUFR and have you and Roman and, you know, there were 6 or 7 kids who came and went over the years, but you two were the core through all of middle school and high school, a little bit of primary school, right? So, yeah. So, yeah. What was that? You have any reflections on? Because we certainly dealt with sexuality, relationships.
Yeah, for sure. No, it definitely helped me. It definitely helped me be able to form any type of relationship. Really, you know, I didn't grow up with a lot of, like, really examples for, you know, healthy relationships outside of y'all. Y'all really provided that for me, and the UUFR church really, you know, I mean, I can be proud that, you know, I was learning about healthy relationships from the healthiest couple I knew, and, you know, and I take it for granted that y'all were gay and that y'all had to go through all this to become, you know, how amazing y'all are. You know, it took a lot, but I'm very thankful for all that y'all taught us as kids growing up, and all that you taught us here at UU about being proud of who you are, right? Because that's what pride is about, you know, and being able to facilitate some type of conversation with people that, if they're not comfortable being proud with themselves, to be able to help with that, to be able to, you know, really form that type of bond with somebody, even if they were maybe in the closet or whatever. I helped a lot of my friends in high school who were not comfortable coming out of the closet yet. With your guidance, I talked to them about some of the things that the UU Church had taught me. Healthy sexuality for sure is a big one. And help them kind of get comfortable with that. And but yeah, that's for sure, you know, I'm very proud to be a part of the UU Church. And
I would just like to add on to this a little bit. I did not grow up going to the UU Church, but I did grow up with my grandmothers. And in addition to what he said, I did not really have any examples of healthy relationships around me. So I always watched you all, and you inspired me and showed me what a healthy relationship should look like. You coached me through my first big breakup about a year ago, and if it wasn't for you all, I might still be stuck in that relationship now. I can't speak much on the queer journey because I unfortunately am straight. But as far as healthy relationships,
We love you.
We accept you.
I know. Well, in this family, you have to come out as straight. If you're not gay, there's something wrong. But they did teach me about healthy relationship dynamics, and I was just always grateful to have that to look up to and go to them if I needed any advice or help with anything. They were always a safe space for me.
Thank you both. That's lovely.
I'm gonna continue on with our planned questions because that was a little spur of the. But do y'all, given the current political climate and how the administration has stripped away rights for everybody basically and have
They haven't done it yet.
haven't
They're
done it
working
yet for
on
gay
it. They're
people,
working
but
on it.
they're working on it. Do y'all worry about your right to marry? Do y'all worry about our state recognizing your right to be married?
Yep. Yes, we do. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm really grateful that there are so many people across Virginia and so many different configurations, so many different groups that are working hard to take advantage of a window here to change our Constitution in Virginia so that if the Supreme Court makes a decision that reverses the notion that the 14th Amendment gives us rights, right? If that were to happen, that in Virginia, there would still be that opportunity. We're one of 27 states who has a ban in our Constitution. So, but there's a referendum
Yeah.
on the ballot in November. Vote, vote, vote. Really proud of both of you. You voted in every election since you've been eligible.
And I want to give your parents some kudos for that as well. They really encouraged and took. I remember when you were little tykes, taking you to the polls and encouraging you to vote. And I'm proud of you both for always doing that and generally, as far as I know, voting well. Because
sometimes I run into a couple of people from church too at the polls, so you know.
yeah, and that's a right that's being challenged for a lot of people right now as well. So yeah, I think in times like this, we learn how important it is to exercise those rights. So yeah, you can go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. So I'll just, I mean, you guys can close this out, but maybe last comment from us is the referendum not only eliminates the ban, it also asserts the right to. So it says, affirm that two adults may marry regardless of sex, gender, or race, and requires all legally valid marriages to be treated equally under the law in Virginia. It's a really powerful amendment. Talk to people you know. We thought we had it wrapped up when Marshall Newman happened. There was a campaign to raise $1 million to get 1 million votes. They raised $1 million. We raised $1 million. We got 1 million votes, and it wasn't quite enough.
57% of Virginians voted for Marshall Newman in 20.
Record turnout for that referendum. So we don't want to see that happen again. We want to talk to everybody far and wide. It's so important. And unlike, in weird electoral politics, every vote counts. Yeah. Every vote, everywhere, right? So yeah.
Safe to say it's very important to vote this November.
Yes. Anything else you want to say?
I don't know if I got anything else, but we didn't bring it up, and I know I wanted to ask you too, but you didn't tell us your coming out stories, and you got to tell them.
I think the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
So it was. You're not going to get. As you know, if you have to come out of the closet. It's a ongoing thing. You do it over and over and over and over. And I do want to say that for me, when I sort of came to terms with my sexuality, my sexual orientation, whatever you want to call it, I've always been one to be myself. Yeah. And it was not something I could keep in the closet. So I lived my life out, but I never told my parents. as a matter of fact, I mean, I'll tell you a quick story, but when I was splitting up with my husband, because I recognize this, he was beating down the front door after we had separated, and my parents were in the house, and he was saying, "Let me in. Did you know she's a homosexual?" And I think he might have, anyway, I can't remember. I was a little traumatized. But the best part that really, and you would have to know, you remember your Nana, my mom, went out on the front porch and said, "Jean, we know that. Come on in here and be quiet." So, but then that was all that was ever spoken. And I was thinking in my early 20s. And then when we decided to get married, and my dad had moved down here, he was in his 90s. Was he 90? Not yet. No, he wasn't 78. It's because my mom had passed away. But yeah, but he was when I told him. Yeah. So, you know, in the proper Southern way, we just accepted things. We didn't talk about it. And Kristi was my special friend.
That's really truly what she said.
Yeah. But I decided when we decided to get married, I wanted to have my dad there. So I called him up and I said, "Dad, do you think you and I could go out to dinner? Something I want to talk to you about." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, we can do that." So we went out to dinner, and I was pretty nervous. Like, my heart was kind of pounding because you didn't know. I mean, if you knew my dad, proper Southern gentleman, you know, he was also could be very critical and judgmental in his proper Southern gentleman way. And so I said, "Dad, I just wanted to let you know that Kristi and I have decided to get married." Now, we had been together and living together for 25 years. Kristi and I are going to be getting married, and I would really like to have you there. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to sort of talk this out with you. And he said, "Well, I'll tell you. This was, I think this is my fault." You know, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of us, a lot of them in the family, and it comes from my side of the family. And I think that you guys can appreciate that, knowing Bombi, who was the center of everything and the reason anything existed in the world. And so I guess after he went on a long story about all the homosexuals in the family, he agreed to come to our wedding.